Welcome to Connecting Greeks, a streaming comedy show and podcast designed to explore and enhance Greek culture around the world. Join hosts Angelo, Ari, and Foti as they bring you fun and interesting guests from all walks of Greek life. Grab a kafedaki and join us.
Welcome, everyone, to another excellent episode of Connecting Greeks, the show that brings you Greeks from all over the world. I am Ari. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Right now down in D.C., my co-host Foti Stamos up in Boston. Hello, Foti.
Also, Ari.
How's it going?
It's going.
All right, good. Well said. Thank you. And all the way across the nation, we got the man, the legend, Angelo Tsarouchas. Yasu, Angelo.
Hi, Ari. Hi, Foti.
Angelo.
Yes. I'm in Los Angeles, but as you can see by my backdrop today, I'm in a very Montreal state of mind.
You know, I'm always in a Montreal state of mind, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because the weather's been crap here in LA now. We're getting snow and rain, and now I'm thinking I'm missing my native Montreal, and I'm missing the delis and the souvlakia. And I want to dedicate today to Montreal, my
awesome,
my hometown. You know, I grew up in Ottawa, really, but I mean, Montreal is where my heart is.
I don't have one single bad memory of Montreal. That is the greatest city ever.
I do.
It's funny because people will say, you shouldn't have said that, and I stay in Apanagamithita because I don't care anymore. People say you shouldn't say those things anymore. We haven't worked in a year, right? So it's like we're at the point now where whether I think our show's done. You know, I just want to say I'm very proud of this podcast. I'm so happy to work with you guys. Because, you know, when three Greeks get together, it could be a disaster. You know, it could be our egos get in the way, and but this has been, I love you guys. I think this has been a wonderful thing, and we can joke with each other. Nobody gets mad. We'll Forte a little bit, but that's because of Tapini. And I'm just saying, I'm so happy. And I just want to say, guys, I think it's good. The response I've been getting, you guys, the people listening to our podcast, they're loving it.
Awesome.
And we're bringing a lot of good guests.
We equally feel, if not more, honored that we're able to do this with you, because it's been a blessing that we've been able to launch something like this. As first it was just like a thought, an idea, and a vision, and now we're actually putting it to reality. And as you said, we constantly get feedback, calls, text messages, thanks to you.
Yeah,
it's good. Well, I thought you were going to say you were mutually annoyed with me as I was with you guys.
We wait till you're off. We wait till you're off the call, Angelo, and then we bitch about you.
Well, you know, I'm very excited about our guest this week. He comes all the way from Johannesburg, South Africa, which has a very vibrant Greek community, and I have been there many times. I've done shows. This is a unique individual. I've always been a fan of his. We have a mutual, you meet people in a parallel universe, and he's one of these guys. You know, he's an award-winning stage actor, voice artist, playwright, comic. He's a businessman. He's Greek. I mean, he's a foodie. I mean, shit, this is a guy. If I was to marry a dude that was as close to me, it would be this guy.
Wow.
You know? And I can say that, but I mean, because it was one of those things, and you can say that now. Debirazi. So, but the thing is, very happy to have him on the show, and I'm sure he's going to be laughing about this. His friends call him Harry Sid, but we know him as Harry Sideropoulos. Harry, welcome to Connecting Greeks.
I will gladly marry you, Angelo. I'll gladly. I mean, I think we could live a good life together.
I'm gonna get ordained, and I'm gonna do the ceremony. Thank you.
I'll be the cubado.
We got the cubadi with it, Harry, and we're what they call bears, Harry. We'd be the arcudes, right?
We'd be the arcudes.
We'd be the not that we're not making fun of anybody. No. We're just saying that if we were, you know, it's like it's okay. I don't want, you know, anybody of the LGBTQ community accusing us of. No, we're just. If I was to,
this comes from love. This comes from
it comes from love. So
brotherly love.
From love.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here. I met Angelo many years ago. He was doing a show at a theater in Toronto, and then he came to South Africa, and I was doing a show in Toronto, and he was doing a show in Johannesburg at the same time. And we are mutual friends, and I'm a huge fan of his, and I'm a huge fan of this podcast. I think it's amazing to connect Greeks from around the world because we really realize how much we've got in common. We all fucked up, man, and it's glorious to see that. It's just amazing to see that a guy in Boston is just as fucked up with all the Greek insecurities as somebody in Joburg, and that I love
it.
Now, it's funny you say. Now, Harry, even for myself, the first time I went to South Africa, I went to the Cape Town Comedy Festival in 2003, and then I went to Joburg, and I found out about you. And when I met you in Canada, interestingly enough, guys, and this is why I think Harry's the perfect person, very accomplished in your own right, Harry, and you're native South Africa. I know you've been many times to Canada and the States, and I know you were getting ready to do something right before the COVID hit. I think you were coming to Canada. Yeah, we're going to be there at the same time. Now, the thing is, what a lot of people don't understand is what a vibrant Greek community exists in South Africa. Yeah. Especially Joburg and Durban and Cape Town, Pretoria. And the one that starts with a B, is it Blumentsveld? What's the name?
Bloemfontein.
Remember when they had the World Cup there, Harry?
Yes.
Greece was playing, and guys, there was a huge following of Greek fans.
Oh, wow.
That were going to the thing. And
I got to say that Bloemfontein is a little bit like Larissa. That's the best way I can describe.
Right. Because there's a lot of Greek Cypriot and Greeks, and the thing, guys, that people don't realize about South Africa, that the 11 different language dialects.
Oh, wow. That's correct.
And there's a huge Italian, Greek, Jewish. It's not what people think it is. Now, I know the interesting thing is, and Harry, I want to bring this up for a second because it connects to, and then I want to get into what you're doing. But just recently, we had Martin Luther King Day in the United States. And I was talking to a friend of mine who's a Black African-American actor. Yeah. And he said to me, he goes, "You don't understand." And I'm going to tell you how the connection works here. He goes, "You don't understand," he says to me, "the plight of the Black man because you're white." And I said to him, "Okay, slow your roll. First of all, in 1922, in Atlanta, Georgia, in the South, they would have signs up, and the guys know this, no Greeks, no Blacks, no Jews, Greeks." I said, 1964, walking across Selma in Alabama, or was it Mississippi, Alabama? I'm not sure. The Archbishop Metropolitan Yaakov Voss was standing right next to Dr. Martin Luther King. Against the rules, the wishes of the Greeks and the Greek church, he stood there.
He got heck for that, too.
And the correlation I'm going to make now, because as you know, in your country, it was apartheid. But when Mandela came out, the man, and I think you've met him, Harry. I think you have met him.
Yes.
The man that negotiated for the ANC, the African National Congress, Mandela didn't trust his own people. It was George Bezos.
Yeah, it was a Greek.
The Greek.
George Bezos. That's right. George Bezos.
George Bezos, who the theater was named after at Sahedi School when I did the show, and he was there.
So and he passed away a couple of months ago.
Right.
91, 92, yeah.
So when I was there, Harry, I did the show when you were in Toronto, when I was in Joburg. And what happened was I mentioned that I studied him in school because when Mandela came out, that place, your country could have been a powder keg. And it wasn't because he came out. But the only guy he trusted was George Bezos.
Yes.
To make the negotiation, a human rights advocate who supported him. So I told this guy, and I told this Black African actor, prominent actor, I can't say his name, and a few others, and I used this word, and I said to him, "Let me tell you something about Greeks. We have philotimo."
Yeah.
So regardless of the malakias that we do, we've always stood up for human rights everywhere during the end of time. And
Absolutely.
I know because I think people paint South Africa with a bad brush, and I've had such a wonderful experience. I've been to your country so many times, and I always tell people, they always ask me, "What's your favorite place to go in the world?" And I still tell them South Africa. And I mean,
thank you for that. And and it's, George Bezos, we call him our uncle, Uncle George, because that, he was the founder of Saheti School, which is one of the most extraordinary private Greek schools in South Africa. And I was very privileged to go to that school. And my parents were a middle-class Greek family. They didn't have money, but they believed in education like so many immigrants, Italians, Greeks, Portuguese. They arrived in different foreign countries, in America, in Canada, in Australia. And they wanted religion and they wanted their language. And George Bezos created the school. Now, what happens is the rest of the world, bar Mandela, doesn't really know much about South Africa. And I think that's what's so unique about South Africa, is that unlike America, where my understanding of America is that you are a melting pot, it's your first American. In South Africa, you are first Italian, Greek, Portuguese, African, Xhosa, Zulu. In Greek, το λέμε τοπικιστές, από ποια περιοχή έρχεσαι. So we very much like that. But I think also because Johannesburg is not as beautiful as Cape Town, we're very aware of that. We know that.
Cape Town is awesome.
We know that. We know that. But we, especially Joburgers, we're very warm and friendly. And during the World Cup, it was quite extraordinary. We were taking tourists into our cars and dropping them off at stadiums. And that would never happen anywhere else in the world. Now, we're a little bit like America, right? In Johannesburg, the distances are vast. So we would just put I took 8 Lebanese people into my car and I drove them like for half an hour. And they were going, oh my God, you're like the second person that's done this for us. So we're a new democracy. We are very troubled like most developing countries. We certainly have a big Greek community. It's not as big as it used to be. There were about 100,000 Greeks that arrived in the late 1800s. We're now probably only about 30,000. We're nowhere close to what Canada is in Australia. But we have huge leaders in industry, whether it's entertainment, whether it's hospitality, whether it's politics. One of the big boys working on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine right now is a guy, from a South African Greek boy. We have a huge Cypriot community and there's a lot of opportunities. And I think what's great, and I enjoyed that when I was in Toronto, is the sense of, in South Africa, we call it Ubuntu. Ubuntu is a sense of togetherness. And when I was walking down the Danforth, and all of a sudden I walked into a shop and I said, Kalispera in Greek town. They went, yes, it's Denistapodo. And all of a sudden there was this connection. And I think what we don't really realize, not only as Greeks, but for God's sake, as bloody human beings, global citizens, is that there's a lot more that unites us than divides us. So although I can't profess to understand what it's like being an African American or a Black South African, I certainly do know that we as Greeks, Italians, Portuguese, Jews, during the apartheid regime were not really wanted. They called us Uitlanders. Uitlanders France means people that come from far away. So we weren't very wanted. So we had to create our own communities. But having said that, we have got one of the most amazing constitutions in the world. I had the great pleasure many, many years ago. I used to work on a very big morning breakfast show, and we had the great privilege of interviewing Mandela. And I'll never forget him. We went to his home, and this man was this towering man. And I started crying the minute I saw him, because this man had all the potential of coming out of prison and creating havoc. And yet he created one of the most amazing transitional phases in global history.
True.
And people who were racist all of a sudden saw this man and they idolized. And for me, that is a huge lesson. If you, after spending 27 years in prison, can come out, and let me tell you, I don't know if you know this, but he reenacted Sophocles' Antigone, because he was very much an intellectual in prison. It was and he played King Creon in Antigone in prison. So, Mandela was very much part of the old stalwarts of the kind of the old, very intellectual academics and visionaries. And I'm thrilled and I'm proud. And I always say that I have a Greek heart and my soul is African. And that's how I managed to marry the two.
Cool. See, it's fascinating listening to you describe it, Harry, because I think when the guys told me about the show, I had already envisioned one of the first people that popped up in my head to be a guest on the show was you. And because the nice thing about, like you just said it, we're more unified than we know. The sect of the possibly the accents may be a bit different and everything else, but the reality of it, like, look at this guy who he built the school to prolong, like anywhere in the world with the Greek. We like to colonize things. It's in our DNA, I think.
Yes.
Even
yes.
you'll go to an Italian restaurant like in Sudbury, Ontario, and there's Greek souvlaki on the menu. I go, why is there Greek souvlaki on the menu? Oh, the guy Panayioti's the owner. So and I go to the guy, Greeks own this. He goes, how do you know Greeks own it? I said, because it's an Italian restaurant and there's Greek souvlaki on the menu. No Italian, but Greek souvlaki on the menu. Greeks do that. It's almost like, we own an Italian restaurant. Mixa knate, είμαστε Έλληνες. And when you ask the waiter who's Greek, what's the best thing on the menu at an Italian restaurant? You know what he says? Greek souvlaki.
Greek souvlaki. I got to tell you, boys, something. I don't know if you've experienced this when you're in Greece, but Greece has this amazing ability to make you love it in one breath and in the same breath hate it. It's something quite astonishing in our DNA. Like it is like I can walk into a Greek shop and I can be completely blown away. And then I walk into another shop and I go, oh my God, you guys are like animals. One of my best experiences in Athens, Greeks in Greece have this intensified need to want to give you their opinion. Even though you haven't asked for it, okay? Like, you haven't asked for it, okay? Like, and they're not even your fia. They're not even your uncle or your cousin. Like, I walk into a Greek shop at Tavernite, and I see kokinisto kreas. Now, I know that kokinisto kreas is nothing fancy, but I really like kokinisto kreas. And when I see kokinisto kreas, I don't give a fuck what else is on the menu. I want kokinisto kreas. So I walk into this restaurant with my cousin, and we order kokinisto kreas. And the owner of the restaurant goes, σε μένα θα πας αρνί. Δεν θέλω αρνί, του λέω. Δεν θέλω αρνί, θέλω το κοκκινιστό. Άκου τι σου λέω. And I went, γιατί το κοκκινιστό είναι παλιό, είναι παγιάτικο. Όχι, παιδί μου, όχι, δεν είναι παγιάτικο. Σήμερα το πρωί το φτιάξω. Απλά θα φας εσύ αρνί. Now, when you first arrive in Athens, the first 2 weeks you're quite intimidated by them. So you look at them and you go, okay, θα φάω αρνί. By week 3, you go, στο διάλο, θέλω κοκκινιστό κρέας, μαλάκους, κοκκινιστό κρέας. And then they look at you and they go, καλά παιδί μου, καλά, εντάξει.
That's so true.
That is so true. What the fuck? You don't need to ask your opinion. Everything give it to you.
Give it to you. You know, like I got into a taxi and this woman, this female taxi driver looks at me and she goes, πρέπει να σας πω κύριε, είστε πολύ όμορφος άντρας. Να είστε καλά. And then she says to me, εάν χάνατε 10 κιλά, θα είσαστε κούκλος.
Oh God.
And you think, who the fuck are you? And then she looks at you and she goes, δεν θέλω να γίνει παραξήγηση, να ξέρεις ότι ενδιαφέρομαι για σένα. What do you mean ενδιαφέρεσαι για μένα? You're never going to see me in your life again. There's 10 million people living in Athens. It's that which drives you crazy.
You know, Harry, you're spot on. You know that place Goodies in Greece?
Yes.
Goodies.
Yes.
The hamburger?
Yes.
I went at the Goodies, I think. I don't know where it was. I go, those one and Goodie Burger. And the guy looks at me, Tita Sukaniana. Don't go to the store. Πάρε 3-4 ρε. I go, don't go to the Who would say that at Burger King or McDonald's in America?
Never. You know, one of my best stories ever was I was in the UK, and you know the Brits don't like being seen as them being offensive or offending in any way. So they might say things behind your back, but in front of you, they're very polite. And what happened is I had come from Canada and my suitcase was very overweight. And I know that I was trying my luck. And I thought there's only one way that I can do this. So as we get to the passport control and I give my suitcase in, she looks at me and she types and she looks at the suitcase and she goes, "Sir, you are grossly overweight." And I, at that point, thought the only way that I'm going to get that suitcase on that aeroplane is if I play the fact that I think that she means that I'm grossly overweight. And I just look at her and I went, "I beg your pardon." Of course, dropped my voice. She realizes what's happened. She goes, No, sir, that's not what I meant. No, what I... And then she frantically types away, and then before I know it, the suitcase was on. Now, I mean, that's the difference, you know. In Greece, there's no way. There's just no way. They are the best of them. They are the best of humanity and the worst of humanity all in one. It's like
Harry, do you find that was your Greek sensibility that kicked in? You know what she meant.
Yes.
Excuse me, are you speaking about me? No, you're right. They're very non-confrontational.
It's the Greek, it's like, how am I going to find a way of kind of making this work to my benefit. And you know what, I think as Greeks, we're very passionate and we're very, very alive. And I've realized that there's a lot of people that can't cope with that intensity because we're intense. I mean, look at you. You're full of life. You walk in, you take over. You know, like there's a sense of, there's like 3 crackers up our assholes, you know. Right. And Anglo-Saxons can't cope with that. They cannot, and they cannot do it. Yeah. They can't even handle my hands and my gesticulation. They think, you know, just stop waving your hands, you know. But I think what's extraordinary for me is the heritage that I got, that I'm very proud of. And somebody interviewed me, boys, and I'll never forget that. So if I need to answer, how do you feel about being Greek? Which is it's a strange question because it's like saying, how do you feel having brown hair? All right. I'll tell you what I did answer when a journalist once asked me, how do you feel about being Greek? And I said, if there is such a thing as reincarnation and I come back as a Norwegian, I'm going to be really fucked off. like the thought of having dinner and inviting friends over, 4 people, 4 chops, lamb chops with 1 salad. I mean, that is just the thought of me doing that. It panics me. Like I'm telling you, the British colonized the world so that they could eat a decent meal. That was the only reason why the British colonized the world. They wanted to eat a decent meal. One of my food, just for food. Like one of my outings, you know, for my parents never allowed me to sleep over at a non-Greek person's home. I don't know if it's the same as you guys. Doesn't matter that Vasily's father's like into drugs and he plays khartya, you know. Doesn't matter that, but you can't go and stay at Nathan's home because Nathan is dangerous. So I don't know, for whatever reason, all right, but they allowed me to go and stay at Nathan's home. And Nathan was a pure, thoroughbred Anglo-Saxon, okay? And it was fantastic. And Nathan had a lot of money. So he had a tennis court and he had a swimming pool and he had a trampoline. And we spent the entire day. We were swimming. Then he had roller skates. They couldn't fit me, but I watched him roller skate. We jumped on the trampoline, up and down on the trampoline. We swam in the pool. This was Saturday. It was 12, 12:30, 1, 1:30, 2, 2:15, 2:30. Nothing. There was no food anywhere. No, like not even a lost chocolate ball in the crevice of a couch after movie night. There was nothing. There was nothing. And finally at 3:00, all right, the mother comes out on the balcony and she goes, come on, children, lunch is served. And of course I did that. I did the fucking Legends of the Fall, you know, like in slow-mo to get to the buffet. And I look at the plate, but I look up at the woman. I look at the plate. I look up at the woman. 2 crumbed fish fingers. Oh. That is what she gave me. Do you have fish fingers where you come from? It's that processed fish.
Fish sticks.
Ugh. That's it. I did not know why I was being punished. That is what I had. 2 of those. That was my experience of staying over at a non-Greek person's home. And let me tell you, there was a reason why my parents did not allow me to sleep at Anglo-Saxon's home, because they knew, to παιδί δεν θα φάει.
You know, Harry, just listening to you talk, that's why you're such a brilliant performer, brother. You know, when they say, you know, some people, I've seen your stuff, you just have this ability, and it's a few people can say this to other people, and I think the guys can see it. You're a natural storyteller. And the thing is that, and what makes a good orator or a good comic is that I think I can fall in the same category. You're able to see things on both sides.
Yes.
So whether it's Anglo-Saxons or the Greeks, because in order to make something funny, you got to understand the other side of it also.
Yes.
You know, and I think listening to you, and these are coming out of your head naturally. You're not even trying to be funny. You just are funny. And you're saying, and we're all listening because we're like, yeah, we know. We've been to Ryan's house. We've been to Bobby's house. We've been to Nathan's house. And I always loved how Greeks categorize there's 25 million Greeks in the world. 7.2 billion people, they're the Xeni.
Yes, they're the Xeni.
They're the Xeni.
They're the Xeni.
And I always love that. They're the Xeni. Like, it's amazing how it's not even omnipotent, but I also feel it's just the way we've been raised. It's like, And that's why when we have Pascha, it's instead of fighting with the neighbors, kalasetus, right? Still come over. How many times have it in Boston? Yeah, you come over and have lamb. And then they come over, the Kseni come over eating arni, and they're like, oh my God, never had lamb like this. And then Greeks in their head go, fuisas de duvla.
You know what it is? It's Greeks and Italians and Spanish and Portuguese. I don't do the French because the French are very different. Right. Food is how when we break bread, it's a lubricant of conversation. Food, sitting around a table, that's how we all grew up. When my father came back from the shop, we would sit around the table and we would eat. That's the one time when we got to talk. So for us, food, and when I make food for you, it's I'm showing you my love. So I'm showing you how much I love you because I want to have you at my table, and I have made you a ramato con sto yuvetsi, and it's come.
You're making me hungry now, Harry.
You know what I mean? And I do make a ramato yuvetsi, by the way. So for me, food is really about it's that conduit of sitting around the table and telling people, hi, I'm Harry and I love you. That's for me what it is. That's when I sit around my table. I don't put anyone around my table. I'm very specific about, look, it's also age. I'm now 40, I'm 46 years old. So with age, I've realized that there's a lot of my likes that I don't want in my life anymore. And that, so I have people around my table. And the one thing that I missed during COVID is that anthropine epaphie. It's that thing of of touching and being and laughing. That's truly what I miss.
Now, Harry, we're going to get into what you're doing. You also do, if I'm not mistaken, it's like a cooking / you do corporate events where people pay you, and you kind of, for a lot of people, you'll do this whole, tell us a little bit about that, because I was very interested in that when I saw it on your profile.
So basically what we're doing, and the whole idea was that it was, with my trip to Canada in March of last year, all of this was going to be, put into play for the next 18 months. So what I do is it's called boutique dining, and it started up, and this is what's so amazing, boys, how something starts up. It was a dinner with friends. A friend of mine asked me, she lives in a very small apartment. She says, would you mind if I could use your apartment for book club? There's 12 girls. I went, sure. She says, would you mind helping me cook something? I said, sure. So the girls came over, they did the book club, and I made them an arni, and I made them a tiropita and a salad, and I made them some desserts. And the next day I get a phone call from Nedbank. Nedbank is one of our big private banks. And they said, Harry, can we pay you to do what you did last night? And I said, what did I do last night? They went, well, you came up with the food and then the storytelling, and that's how it started. So it is stories that have been created out of a Greek kitchen, and it's stories about the food. It's stories about love. It's stories about xenitia, people that have left their country. Like I found amazing letters from my aunts at a time when there was no communication. You have to send them, it will take you 24 days to get to there. And these letters create these stories. And it's astonishing. I create all the food in the kitchen. I have my entire team that works with me, but it's all home-cooked food. It's home-cooked food, but it's pimped. So if I'm going to do a Greek cheese pie, I'll use pepper dews, and I'll also do slithers of mint, and I'll do pine nuts. So I'll take the Greek recipes and I pimp them. And that's what I've been doing, which is, it's gone so well. And it's also it's a show, basically. So you arrive and there's a show, there's narrative, there's comedy, there's heartfelt stuff, and there's song. And I weave all of that. So you leave an evening with me feeling like you've been entertained at a friend's home. And the thing is that we've done it for 10 people and we've done it for 260 people. Wow. And it's about positioning, like I'll come and I'll sit on your table. I'll sit on your table and the spotlight follows me. And I really create this intimate environment. So for me, I started doing pop-up experiences because I got very tired of performing in a theater where it's the stage and the audience. And I wanted to move me and move the audience. So we started taking up venues that are not theaters, and we started turning them into theaters, but like a movie set, so that every time I get to decide what the space looks like and where you, the audience, get to experience my intimacy. And it's called the pop-up experience, and the pop-up theater. And every year we create different narratives. And there's a lot of... Yes.
Can I say one thing, Harry?
Yeah.
Nothing just upset me more about COVID than realizing that I'm deprived of this experience right now.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
this
bless
is
you,
something
man.
that I want to attend one of these. I mean,
Well, can we book you?
right?
You
Just
will. I promise you, the minute COVID is over. I mean, my irony is that, you know what, I was looking at not only Canada, but I was looking at America as well.
Yeah.
Boston was there. Washington was there. Chicago was there on the list. It's like, it's a tour. We
That'll be
basically do a tour.
Amazing.
You hook up caterers, because there's lots of Greeks that would do that. It's like what Harry's talking about. It's not the same thing, because this is Harry's concept with Harry talking. I did the Friars Club in New York, Harry, where they did the Greek night. And what they did is they asked me to be the stand-up guest, which for 100 years they've done with a Greek. It's always been Jewish, mostly.
Yes.
The Friars Club is where, all the Milton Berle and Billy Crystal and Seinfeld and those guys. And they did a Greek night. So I did stand-up. They had that famous Greek restaurant in New York, either Avra or the other one. They did like a uvetzi with rizi and salad, and for all their members. And then they had a duo. And that's the night I did the show with the billionaire John Katsimatidis. The guy that was
yes. I saw that on Facebook.
Right. And he's in the front row, Harry, and I'm doing jokes, and Tompiani na hypno, and he's sleeping. Because he's got narcolepsy, and he's asleep. And I looked at the audience, only about 150 people, and I said, you're killing it when John Katsimatidis is asleep. And there's his wife trying to wake him up. And I said, tell him to wear his mask. I figured he has sleep. And she goes, I keep telling him, but he won't. And then Katsimatidis wakes up with one mati open like a prismeni gata. He's like this, looking around like pushto dialo ime. It was hilarious. But that thing you're talking about, Harry, I mean, what funny guys, somebody asked him to do it. He does it. And then he gets a call from one of the biggest banks in South Africa saying, hey, would you do this for us?
That's awesome.
And that was 9 years ago.
Perfect guy.
That was 9 years ago. Yeah. And also, you know what? Do you know what it is, guys? I love food. I know you can't tell. I love food. I love entertainment. And I wanted, and I love creating, because my background, I actually haven't studied a day in my life of theater, or I've studied architecture and design. That's what I studied. Because, of course, Greek parents, so, I mean, I did the next thing which I enjoyed, which was design. So I enjoy creating spaces, but I never wanted the commitment of a restaurant. I never wanted the everyday running of a theater. So this way, I get to stage 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, an experience. We sell it out, and it's gone for the year. So end of last year, we created a concept, which is called the Secret Supper Club. And we recreated a 1920s Gatsby experience, where all the actors and the singers and the performers perform even when they're not performing. So when you're going to the toilet, there's an altercation of actors that's happening something in the toilets. So all the actors are constantly acting, and the people all got dressed up. And of course, we did kind of a very postmodern jukebox interpretation of music. So we did like contemporary songs in big band swing, and the audience loved it. And we did it with dancers and choreography. I was the Don, I was the mafioso at the club. The club's shutting down. There's a story. So we really create these interactive experiences where you as the performer, you as the guest, feel like you're having this 360-degree experience. And it is. So, people would get gifts and things and parcels, and under the table, people would get pulled out of their chair and then get shoved in a black room, and they'd be interrogated. So I literally do these 3D experience, 4D experiences. Wow. And people love it. And I found something that I really, I've been very blessed. I've done great Broadway musicals in South Africa. I did Hairspray, which was amazing. I did the Buddy Holly show. I've done a lot of stuff. But there's something about creating something very different that no one else is doing. And that's what gives me a hard-on. For me, doing that. And I love it. And I love surprising people. And our food comes out with roses and with dry ice, and it's theatrical. And entire trolleys come out with kadaifi and with Greek desserts. And it literally becomes a theatrical experience. So eating a kurapié has an entire production of music, lights, as the waiters bring out these huge brass cloches that they bring out. So I wanted to bring food, entertainment, and visceral experience to an audience, and that's what I do.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Because you're modest, and that's because anybody that comes from the Commonwealth countries have been beaten down by the bread.
Yes.
And I know, I mean, it's because I keep, you know what it is, guys? I like to keep tabs on people because, we don't always talk, but now because of social media, you see what's going on. And we have our mutual friend, Aspasia, who's, I think, the biggest fan in the world.
She's my
loves you.
Yeah.
We'll give her a shout out. Mentioned Postmodern Jukebox. We had Ariana Savalas, who was a guest on. Brilliant.
Ariana Savalas, is some of her songs are even better than the originals. It's
one of the coolest shits ever. And this is why and even because I can see you coming to North America, and there's enough chefs here like Christine Cushing and Peter Minaki that would, instead of you, because you don't have the kitchens, you could connect with these people. You work with them with your concept, because basically you could take your briefcase and go anywhere in the world and do this concept. And you're the perfect guy to do this, I think, because we're all convinced already.
Yeah.
100%.
Thanks, guys.
You could do it in LA, you could do it in Chicago, Toronto, Montreal, Detroit, Boston, Washington.
You know what? For me, meeting, I'm very, like with you, Angelo, you get to meet a lot of people on your travels and when you're doing shows, but there is something when you meet your people. There is something. And for me, when I meet my people, I know it sounds ridiculous and cheesy, but it's like a connection. And of course, it's like they go, Apapuisha. And I go, my parents were both born up at Apapu. And I go, my mother's up at Kefalonia. And it's like, there's a connection. And I think what happened is with all our parents, with an exception of maybe some of the more fortunate ones, they left Greece to find a better life for themselves, right? With a suitcase full of dreams. And for many of those people, those dreams didn't materialize. For many of those people, they never got to see their loved ones for many years, 10, 15, 20 years. And they arrived in a foreign country that didn't necessarily want them. The governments supposedly wanted them.
Right.
The people didn't. And they came and they did the best they could. And when I connect with these Greek people, when I do a show and they come and they speak to me after the show and we start chatting, I realize that my insecurities and my hang-ups and my angst with my parents and my siblings and my community and feeling displaced in an Anglo-Saxon world is so common to somebody who's in an audience in Montreal or in Toronto or in Miami when I was there a couple of years ago. We have so much in common, and that's what I love. When a Greek person looks you in the eyes and go, Yasura Malaka, I love that. It's so true. It's a connection. It's a connection, and it's a visceral connection. And that's what I love about being Greek, is that we are all over the world and we mobilize. Look at what you three boys are doing. This is amazing. You are connecting people across the world. Because of your podcasts, I have now started clicking onto people that you have interviewed to know more about them. All right, which in the past, I like searching the net, but if I don't have a name, I can't go in. So all of a sudden you are giving me names, which is astonishing. I haven't finished it, but I was looking at the previous one. I think was it the previous one or two back with Bubulina, Tisha Bubul. I'm going, this is amazing. What you guys are doing is amazing. And don't let it stop. Even after COVID, just continue doing this, because you're onto something truly extraordinary. And I really hope that we can break bread in the same room together somewhere in the future. I would really love.
We definitely will. We definitely will.
Harry, it's interesting you say that, because I think the one thing people can take away, and I think the one thing that's satisfying for us, I think Adi and Foti will agree, and you've echoed that, is that it's nice to hear the stories. Like you said, there's something about it. I'll find out something about somebody in New Zealand, or when I first went to South Africa, when I went to Durban, and these guys upgraded my room because I found out there were Greeks that were running all these hotels in South Africa.
Yeah.
And all the other comics were going in a minibus, and these guys are picking me up with an extended talking to me, we've heard your CD, Burume Avato na film Tsikoyenyes. I'm like, yeah. And they were like, so they were telling me in Durban, South Africa, which is predominantly Indian. It's the largest Indian population.
It's the largest Indian population. Yes.
But there's this little pocket of Greeks there. Okay, guys. So we were doing the shows at the casino, and we were staying at the Zimbali Lodge.
Amazing.
Stupid lodge on the ocean with Springbok and everything. The guy goes, put up on my fama. These guys, they're like Greek mob guys. They owned Italian and Greek restaurant. So all the comics were there. Trevor Noah, Jim Freeze, all those guys were on with me on the show. So they go, and the guy goes, Trevor Noah goes, mate, he goes, there's no restaurant. No, there are restaurants open. You're not aware of them. What are you talking about? I go, we got up in Florida Street, right? There's an Italian
Absolutely.
one, right?
Yeah, you know Florida Street. Yeah.
The guy goes, see the Alexetti Thelis. No. So I said to the guys, I got this guy, I said to him, how about Italian food? Hey, they called the restaurant, they kept it open, and all these comics go at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. There's a waitress and a chef. They made us complete dinner at midnight.
Yeah.
And then later on, there was a guy who ran the nightclub that they couldn't, I guess it was part of their repertoire. So we ate there. We went to the nightclub. And this guy comes in a papillon wearing a tuxedo. He looked like an eagle, a Greek guy. Yeah. And he comes down with a Xanthiana Melachrini, one on each arm. And he goes, Saruka pia protimas. I go, Bule partes. I was joking, but I thought the other guys, now a lot of these guys have gone on to be huge, big comics. They still remember. And he goes, Ange, we were in South Africa, in Durban. He goes, you're from Canada. And even Trevor Noah, I remember him saying to me, how the hell? I'm South African. Like, Trevor Noah was a big star in South Africa before he went to the Daily Show.
Yes, yeah.
And he should have you on, actually, because you're a Joe Burger. He's from Soweto Township and stuff. But he said even Trevor Noah and Koki Falco and those guys come to me, Harry, and they're like, how is it? How the hell did they find you? How is it these restaurants and nightclubs are staying open for us? I go, because they're Greek.
Because they're Greek. That's it.
They're Greek. And exactly what you're saying. And that's the guys, that's the kind of hospitality I was getting in South Africa. And it'd be the same for you, because it's like we have that and they're like, that's how Greeks sniff each other out.
Yes. But you know what? You know what you've just reminded me about? When it came to school, when it came to maths, Imuna Bufos, I was like bad, all right. And of course, I needed to pass. So my parents found this Afrikaans teacher. Afrikaans is in origins of Dutch, right? To help me. And I would go to her home every Tuesday and do maths with her for an hour. And in that hour, if I got a glass of water, it was because I asked for a glass of water. All right.
Right.
Fast forward 2 months later, and we find out there are two Greek teachers, South African Greeks, who are teaching maths. And guys, I fucking loved it, because it was an hour and a half, and in the exact half mark, the mother would come out and go, Charoli, θα τσιμπήσεις κάτι, ένα τζουζουκάκι τι θέλεις, τι θέλεις, μια τυροπιτάκι τι θέλεις. And then like the mothers would come out, all right, and they would give me coffee and Coca-Cola, and they would make me like little sandwiches and little bureke or little tiropitaki or little meatballs. And I thought, that's what it is. You can't teach that. How do you teach that to someone? You cannot. And that's what it is. And I've got to share one thing before, because I know the time's ticking. I could spend the whole night talking to you guys. When I was in Canada, I did a show, right? Anyway, I finally met a South African that's now living in Canada, right? And she's not Greek. She was a Jewish woman. And she said to me, I love going to Greek town, and I love Greeks, and I love food, and blah, 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 and all of that kind of stuff. And she says to me, are you happy in South Africa? And I said, look, it has its challenges, but, it's home. Because, of course, South Africa, we have terrible crime. I mean, unfortunately, we have a very bleak reality when it comes to crime in South Africa. It's just part of the landscape, which it's hard. Anyway, so she says to me, we've been living here for 10 years, and we're very happy. And I said, that's lovely. She says, are you happy there? And I went, yes, I am. She went, really? I said, yes. She says, and you wouldn't want to move to Canada? And I said, not at this point. And she looked at me and she went, really? I said, yes. And she says, you know that there's no crime in Canada, in Toronto, we've got no crime. And I said, really, you've got no crime? She goes, we've got no crime. And at that point, I thought, do I, don't I? Do I, don't I? And then I think something came up and I went, oh, screw it, I will. I said, my darling, of course you don't have crime. At 25 degrees below zero, who the fuck's going to leave their home to steal a plasma TV? Like, how badly do you want to watch Grey's Anatomy? I mean, no wonder you've got no crime. Got no crime, got no crime, got no crime. Yeah?
Oh, come on. There's no sex crime. times because nothing's moving at minus 30.
Nothing's moving in minus 30.
Nothing's moving around. And it's
Like, I remember the first time I got to Canada, I see, they come and they fetch me from the airport and I see snow. And I went, oh, can we stop the car so I can photograph? And they went, don't you want to do it tomorrow? And I went, it will melt. And I remember Aspasia telling me, honey, you're hot. You ain't that hot. It's not going to melt until March,
talking about, and that's what I found was amazing, and that's why we're and we've been fortunate to travel and do what we like to do.
Yeah,
meet people while we're doing it, and I think that's the key. And when even with doing this, is we want to bring that awareness, and we've said this before with Forti and Adi that we want this. We encourage and want people who watch the show to say, hey, we like your guests, and this has happened a lot. We like your guest. I could use them for this or use them for that. Right now, there's a producer friend of mine. His name's Chris Phillip. He's a big studio head. They did Vikings. Now they're doing the story of Alexander the Great in Greece.
Oh, wow.
And they're doing it as a series.
Wow.
So, and he's part of it. So, he's from New York, and I smoke cigars with him here in LA. And I haven't been able to talk to him lately because he's busy, but I want to get him on. And he said, yeah, I'll do the show. He says, I'm happy to do it, But sometimes it's just a matter of availability because, we move around a lot. And I thought, finally, because we keep seeing these series about narcos, they keep series about, the drug cartels and all that stuff. And they show the historical, like The Queen on Netflix with Claire Foy, which excellent series, and all these other things. And now they finally, which I think's been a while, we're going to see an actual television series about Alexander the Great. I think that's great. But you see, again, it made me think when I was in Thessaloniki, Harry, everybody you meet, they're descendants of Alexander.
Yes, of course, everyone is. Everybody. You know what? Everyone. It's like.
5 pesos to megato on Alexandro. I go, you guys are in fucking drugs.
Completely. Do you know what it is? Do you guys know anyone who's ever said to you that they went to a medium and the medium said to them that they were a fucking dustbin man in Honolulu 300 years ago? Like, no one's ever a dustbin man. Everyone is either a countess in a court, or like everyone is a descendant of Alexander the Great. No one is a fucking washerwoman sitting in Mitilini, all right, washing clothes in a horio. Like, no one is that. Everyone is always some royal medieval countess. I mean, come on.
My dad, I'm from Sparti, right? So I'm a descendant of Leonidas.
Yes, you are. High five.
My dad their family's 302. They didn't make the cut. Harry, I drive a Chrysler 300S, which is a car guy, 300S. And the guy goes, 300S, what's it mean? 300 Spartans, abbreviated.
I love it. 300.
Guy goes, them is Kezies. Look, this has been wonderful, Harry. I think, we don't try to keep our guests too long. We're going to do a repeat with you.
Yes. I'd love to.
You've been phenomenally fantastic. And before what we do, we have a ritual at the end where Forti's going to ask you some questions about being Greek. But we want right now, tell us what's upcoming. Because I know it's things and on social handles. Where can people see this? Ari attaches it.
So if people want to, I'm not very good with social media, but I'm now having to. So they can get hold of me on Facebook, which is just Harry Sideropoulos, or on Instagram, which is Harry_Sideropoulos. And then we're currently putting my website together, which is harrysideropoulos.com. So if you just type Harry Sideropoulos, you'll find it. What I did is I just worked now with a beautiful jazz singer, Canadian jazz singer called Addie Braun. And we just did an amazing, you'll find it on YouTube, you'll find it online. We just did an amazing version of Baby, It's COVID Outside. It's a ripoff of Baby, It's Cold Outside. But at the moment, what I'm also doing, which is fantastic, this is completely different to anything else. If you want to get a feeling of some of the quirkiness that I like playing with, I have been, I'm the creative director of a website which is called tastymoments.life. Tastymoments.life. And you can follow it on Facebook. You can follow it either just directly on the website. And it's all the food. It's a brand of the Dr. Utka, which which is the Ital pizza, and it's the nice and easy. It's all frozen food. And they asked me to come on board and turn this food upside down. You'll see my hands, and I recipe develop, and it's my quirky voice doing all the voiceover, where we take food not seriously, and I give you versions of how to pimp the food. So that's ongoing, and I'm so grateful for that work, because in a time with COVID, we were able to do this. So tastemoments.life is amazing. And for the rest is once COVID is over, we are really working on my show Seriously, which I think you can see the poster behind me. Seriously was my very big show, which I want to premiere in Toronto and Montreal, and hopefully the rest of America, North America. And for now, we just want to survive. We just want to survive the pandemic.
Bravo.
Our numbers are not doing good in South Africa. Remember, we are not America. We are not Canada. We are a developing nation. So we're not quite there with the vaccine yet. So for me right now, I just want us to survive. It was a tough year. I lost my mom beginning of last year, not to COVID. And COVID has not allowed us the ability to be with loved ones and to grieve. It's been very hard. So for me, I just want to survive. But I'm online. I create, we do fun videos. We do cooking shows online. We just want to survive so that I can come back, whether it's in a year's time or in 2 years' time. And destination number one is Toronto, Montreal, and then followed Boston, Chicago, and so on and so forth. That's what I want to do. So I'm thrilled that I met you boys. I really, really am. And let's have some scotch together in the future, please.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Great choice of scotch, by the way.
Thank you.
This has been not just a treat, but an honor. I truly enjoyed this segment, as we enjoy all of them. But this was great. We're so happy that we got to meet you virtually, I guess, and at some point soon in person.
Thank you.
And as Angela has said, we love to end our segments with some questions to our guests. You have made us aware that you have a love for and a passion for cooking, and you mentioned some of your dishes. But we always like to ask each guest if you can let us know, aside from cooking Kres,
yes,
your favorite and least favorite Greek food.
My least favorite Greek food, that's very easy. It's horta. I can't do horta. I cannot do horta. I go to Greece and my Thea goes, Ela horta. I can't do it. I want to gag. I have a gag reflex when I do horta.
That's the first one for us, horta.
I don't like horta. My best Greek meal, it's hard, but it has to be, for me, you see, I love cooking or anything.
Sure.
So for me, it's got to be the Smirneika Tzoutzoukakια, those little beautiful meatballs, the long ones.
Long ones, the Tzoutzoukakια merisi.
Merisi, lock me in a room with that and I will do unspeakable things.
Good choice, Harry. I love it.
Make sure, Adi, you have Tzoutzoukakια when Harry visits us, okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. We mentioned how we all have similar experiences growing up with our parents.
Yes.
Maybe let us know some of your parents' favorite sayings while growing up as a Greek in the house.
Ξενοδοχείο το έχεις καταντήσει στο σπίτι. Number one.
Yes.
Number two. Πάλι καλά που έχω τη φωτογραφία σου για να θυμάμαι πώς φαίνεσαι.
Nice.
Always.
Going.
And then I've got to tell you the story of my late mom, which still makes me laugh. I moved out of home at the tender, vulnerable age of 27. I was a pioneer. And all right. And that day when I moved out of home, my mom I lost my father when I was very young. So it was just my mom at that stage. She was distraught. And I was carrying my suitcase and she said, σήμερα είναι πολύ δύσκολη μέρα, γόρι μου. And I said, καλά ρε μαμά, όταν εσύ ήσουν 22 χρονών, έφυγες για την Αφρική από την Αθήνα. It's not the same thing. Και μου λέει, who's is going to look after you? Πώς θα σε προσέχει? Και λέω, Mama, I'm going to be okay. She says, ποιος θα σου μαγειρεύει? And I took a look and I went, Ma, I think I'm going to be okay. Και she said, αλλά τα βράδια θα κοιμηθείς αλλού, όχι στο σπίτι. And I looked at her and I went, Ma, I am moving from the 5th to the 9th floor of the same apartment block. I moved from the 5th to the 9th floor. It's not even a move, guys. It's like an internal transfer. Internal transfer. And for that long and treacherous journey from the 5th to the 9th floor, my mother gave me a tin of spanakopitaki. That is for me, the Aeonia mama leaving the house with a tupper. Tupper. Oh, and
classic.
God, and I don't know about you boys and your mothers and your yayadas. So that was one of my favorite stories. But your life has ended. If your mother gives you a tiropita in a Pyrex and you don't return the Pyrex, you don't return the Pyrex, and they cannot be fooled by any substitute, guys.
Right.
Because my mother's Pyrex had a crack and I lost it. I fucking lost it. So I went and I bought her a new one. It's a standard Pyrex dish. And I gave it to her. And I said, my mother to Pyrex. She says, after then to Pyrex. I said, mind your Pyrex. She goes, to the come with crack. After then he crack. And I went, well, you don't have a mothers and the Pyrex.
Oh, so
those are my memories of, and Greek doilies everywhere.
Yeah.
Fucking Greek. There was a doily. There's a doily. If a Greek mother had her way, she put a doily under the Parthenon. There was a doily. There's a doily everywhere, under the lamp, on the TV. Like for years, my mother we used to watch Larry King live, and there was a doily hanging over the TV with a pot plant. And I thought that Larry King wore a doily. I mean, that's the kind of house that I grew up in.
Oh man, this is great. And then Harry, last question. As Greeks, obviously, superstition is a big part of our culture.
Yes.
Any superstition that you grew up with and still maybe live by?
Yes, but it's not a superstition. It's not like don't go under a step ladder because it's bad luck. Apparently, I've spoken to many Greek people, and some Greek people do this, and other Greeks don't. My mother had this thing where she believed that if you making an avrolemon soup, and if you don't want it to curdle, at that moment when you take the loose mixture that you pour into the avrolemon soup, at that point, when you move it, when you pour it into the main soup, you have to make kissing sounds. Or it will curdle.
No.
And let me tell you, as a 46-year-old fucking man, I am not prepared to risk it. When I make avrolemon soup, I take that big bowl and a giant of a man, I make fucking kissing noises. Because I ain't gonna fucking take the risk.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Oh, guys, I'm gonna say it, but I think this was probably one of my favorite episodes.
I second that.
Harry, you, as Angelo said, you're an amazing storyteller. You had the story so well put and kept me in suspense. The hour flew by. I am so eager to attend one of these shows, have some good food, have some entertainment. You're a very captive storyteller, and we thank you so much for being with us. And you have probably one of the best laughs I've ever heard.
Yeah, I do. Guys, really, thank you, man. Thank you so much. It's just
thank you.
Joy.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And we're going to link all your every way people could find you and get in touch with you. And Foti, thank you. Angelo, thanks, man. You know the best people, and Harry's an example of that.
There you go. Happy to have you on, Harry. Happy to have you on. Thanks,
Angela, a pleasure. We're going to be eating cooking store and souvlaki mazi. Ari and Foti. I'm telling you, it'll happen in the next year. All right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for listening. We will see you next time. Harry, once again, you're awesome. We love you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Kalinita. Great meeting you. Kalinita.
Yeah.
Thank you.